I think what Frans said, that also the larger companies, because there was discussion, it's only the smaller ones that are doing this. And I think someone mentioned also this morning that it's also disrupting by shame in a way, that you also challenge by shame, that you show that it's more possible to do. And I think that also larger companies, I know in the Netherlands, for instance, of course, France with Philips, but also Unilever and DSM, are clear examples where they really are at the forefront of, I would say, the environmental developments. Things go very quick. Some people say, are we not on the verge of a sustainable revolution like the industrial, but with the pace of the digital? I think Al Gore mentioned that this morning. Some others say, well, it's like the frog in a pan. It takes time, it goes gradually. Look back 10 years, what we didn't have and what do we have today. You mentioned this morning, it's all about also looking at areas, so plastics. So you have to split it up. But I think it's completely clear that clients like it, investors appreciate it. And what I mentioned this morning is that we should not forget the human angle here. Because, well, if you look at my bank, we go more and more digital, of course. So 25% of my staff, 2010, 2020, 25% of my staff will leave the company. And you have to help them to find a new job, because if not, you get, of course, political unrest, people not feeling attached to what happens in the mainstream economy. So I think the human angle here is also, I would say, an important thing. But investors appreciate it because they see that you're out if you're not going to change your business model going forward.
Well, I confirm that. So investors just want to have a good investment proposition and make a return. Right? It is the leaders that need to change the company. And I see the bigger challenge to overcome in the business models that we do with our customers, and also how big customers buy. And governments, let's not forget, governments are a huge buyer of products and services, and very often still favoring old economy business models. You talk about, Uber and new business models. So basically, we need to price the service. We need to price the value, not the box. And as we then deliver that service, let us as a technology company take care of optimizing the technology, including the return path, so that we can make it circular. So Philips has shifted its business model towards selling the benefit rather than selling the box. And that is the big pivot that we need to make together with our customers and make that business model sustainable. It also requires then different incentives, because the traditional way is just to, ship it and get rid of it. And the new way is to have a long-standing partnership with your customers where you optimize the benefit that they derive from the product.
I think Frans makes a fantastic point. I think it comes down to pricing. For recycling companies such as ours, we depend on the crude oil prices, in India, there's a different problem because the price of recycled materials is pegged to the informal sector activities, which come at a low economic cost, but come at a large cost to the society because processes are not followed and so on and so forth. So one of the things that we noticed would be helpful for companies like ours to sustain and survive is not to immediately start the dialogue at pricing, but it will take time, maybe 3 years, 5 years, for us to stabilize the volumes, quality, and pricing. So our partners, the large brands, must take part in collaborative pricing with us, and then what happens is the ecosystem and the entire value chain gets built. And then after 5 years, I think we're going to innovate in optimizing the costs, stabilizing the volumes and prices and so on and so forth.
Mani, you talk about total cost of ownership, right?
Yeah.
Over the lifetime of a product. That is what we need to get our minds around. Now, if you optimize total cost of ownership, you take different decisions, right? Rather than for this quarter or for next quarter, you look at the value of the relationship, but also the imprint on the environment. In that context, it's also important that we start adopting carbon pricing, because that takes into context the imprint of the environment. And if you build that into your service pricing, you come to different conclusions.
What also helps, I would say, is that it becomes more mass. If you look at wind energy in the Netherlands, it was always had to be subsidized. And now the new parks are no longer subsidized. So when it gets commercial, it gets more mass around it, mainstream. That helps tremendously to also get more done in this area. And that is, you can call it a sustainable revolution, but at least that is something I see with the climate agreement, of course, in Paris, that there is a real mind shift actually also around the globe. I mean, in the past, some countries in Asia, large, very large countries, were not part of these environmental agreements. Now they are. And when they make a movement, something really happens.
Hey there, thanks for checking out CNBC on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on all of the day's biggest stories. You can also click on any of the videos around me to watch the latest from CNBC. Thanks for watching.